Welcome to this Peghead Nation banjo demo. I'm Bill Evans, and this is a 1927 pre-war Gibson Style 5 conversion. Conversion means that this banjo was originally a tenor banjo, 4 strings, and of course in the 1920s when an instrument like this would have been manufactured, the tenor banjo was the rage. Not that many people wanted 5-string banjos back then in the 1920s and 1930s. But these days, you know, more of us play 5 strings and 4 strings, and we can simply take the tenor or the plectrum neck off, have a 5-string neck made and put on the banjo, and then you've got yourself a 5-string banjo. It's kind of a cool thing. And this 5-string neck on this banjo was made over 30 years ago by Randy Wood. The serial number is 8873.8 or -8. The first number, the 8873, refers to what we call a lot number. And I'm just going by what I've heard because, of course, I didn't go to the Gibson. I've never visited the Gibson factory in Kalamazoo. But what I was told was that when banjos would be ordered, they had cubby holes that maybe numbered 20 or 25. And they would put an order in, and then the person putting the banjo together would see what kind of wood was needed, what style inlay, what kind of tone ring, whether it had gold plating or engraving. All of that would be in the order. And then simply put those parts in the cubby hole. So the 8873 refers to that lot of banjos that would have been made back in 1927. The second number, -8, refers to the fact that this would have occupied the 8th cubby hole in that lot. Remember your kindergarten days where you had your cubby hole? This is what I'm imagining. It looks kind of like that, and I actually have seen pictures of it. A Style 5 in 1927 would have been a top-of-the-line banjo. The list price on it was $250, and a brand new Ford automobile cost $385, so keep that in mind. Like many banjos from the 1920s, or all banjos from the 1920s up till 1929, this banjo has what we call a 2-piece flange. In distinction to the later 1930s banjos that would have been played by Earl Scruggs and Don Reno and are valued today, those banjos have 1-piece flanges. This has 2-piece flanges. The 2-piece flange, as I understand it, is sometimes called a tube and plate flange. Here is the plate. There is the tube, 2 parts, and they all come apart if I was to disassemble the banjo. Most banjos in the 1920s and the 1930s have what is called an archtop ring, and we'll get some shots where you can kind of see the other side of the banjo, but an archtop ring has this extra metal lip which makes the effective resonating surface of the head smaller in comparison to a flat head banjo, which has a different tone ring configuration, which makes the resonating surface wider, and usually that gives you a deeper sound on the banjo. Original Kirshner tailpiece that says Deluxe, and this banjo is very, very similar to the instrument that Ralph Stanley played throughout the 70s. If you're a fan of Ralph's Rebel recordings, he's oftentimes pictured with a banjo that's exactly like this. And the inlay, the resonator, has a really, really beautiful wood purfling on the side of the resonator. And then if you're building a neck for this instrument, you have to match the neck as well. So that's a tough job to do. We've got pre-war planetary pegs with big, bold pearl buttons. That's part of the collectability of this instrument. And also some really, really beautiful engraving, which we'll take a look at. Ralph, oftentimes back in the 70s, people would confuse these things, and he oftentimes called this banjo a granada. And that's actually not quite the case because the wood on really this instrument is a Style 5, and it's a walnut banjo. Walnut neck, walnut resonator veneer, where a granada is going to be gold-plated like this banjo, but have a maple neck and a maple resonator. That archtop sound is a little bit brighter. Doesn't that sound like Ralph Stanley? And again, that's because of the smaller resonating surface. I've taken the 4 resonator screws off, and let's see what's inside. You never know what you might find in these old banjos. And like many old Gibson banjos, in the factory, they would have written the numbers of the parts in different ways, but on the resonator, they just wrote it in big chalk and usually a small amount of paint there. And that would match a resonator number that would be stamped on the wooden rim, and then also was written often in pencil on the neck. And that just was a way to make sure that that all of those matching parts went in that cubby hole in the bin. And you can again see the two-part number 8873. That's the bin number -8. So resonators are basically made of poplar with the veneer that matches the model of the banjo. In this case, this is a walnut banjo. And so we've got the walnut veneer with the really, really beautiful fine marquetry, the wood marquetry. And then when you look at the side, we've got a green mother of pearl. So again, this is all pretty high-class stuff for a banjo made in 1927. Taking a look at the inside of the banjo, we've got the Gibson warranty label, and you can take a look at a little bit at the different configuration of the tone ring, and then look again at the marquetry and the mother of pearl that's used on the edge of the rim, both on the outside and on the inside. Now this replica neck is very closely matching the original tenor neck. We've got, again, a mother of pearl heel cap, and then one of the really outstanding features of the Style 5 is the painting on the back of the peghead. So all this goes together to create a really, really cool, interesting banjo. If you take a look at all of the different instrument profiles we've done here at Peghead Nation with banjos, earlier on we did a profile of a Gibson replica of this same banjo. So if you're really into this, compare the two videos to see the differences between the two banjos and the sound. And, you know, if you're into Ralph Stanley, there's nothing cooler than having an old 1927 Style 5. All right, thanks for joining me here at Peghead Nation, and let's get some Ralph on.